Hello, welcome to this video about ABBA's song Angeleyes and the Anomalies in it. I used the Polydor mix to listen out of phase and then I confirmed in phase by listening to the vinyl mix, and also just point out of interest, the vinyl is a bit louder than the Polydor CD is, but just a tiny bit. It's also slightly less bassy, but I assume that that's how ABBA wanted it, because at the time it was rather fashionable to have sort of rather light sounding bass. If you listen to things like the Bee Gees and that sort of thing, bass was snappy but not overly boomy. Right, then on headphones I listened to the Tretov More ABBA Gold mix, followed by the Angeleyes mix, which is awful and louder than the vinyl and the Polydor and the Tretov mix. According to Rudolph, the version that's on CSR, apart from having a dropout at 208 during the words have to be the same, which isn't on any other mix, apparently it's quite good and he quite likes it. So there you go, there's a thumbs up for that one. Okay, now what else do I need to say? The stereo, funnily enough, is not inverted on the More ABBA Gold mix. But there is, and I found this by listening out of phase, there is a lovely muted guitar counter melody in the verses. Once you hear it out of phase, then you'll pick it out in the mix, especially if you listen on headphones. It's a very dense mix, and when you do listen out of phase, there's very little that you can hear because it's all sort of clustered around the centre. There's a crackle on the word keep at 19 seconds. The tambourine part is quite shimmery at this point here. It's been shaking away in semi-quavers, but either there's an accidental knock or there's been a stumble in the tambourine where two parts have been edited together, and here the tambourine sounds extra loud and it sort of jumps out at you a little bit here. Out of phase here, there's a very obvious edit that's been made at 56 seconds. If you listen on headphones, the track EQ just dulls a little bit. Either way, it's still obvious as an edit. Right, another edit here that is prominent out of phase, not so prominent in phase, but there is a slide on the word eyes. There's a chorus overdub, as it were, on the right hand side where they're singing in harmonies, and every so often there is this like overdubbed eyes that comes in other places in the song as well, and on Pay the Price, and I wonder whether or not they're put in there deliberately to cover up something that you shouldn't be hearing. In this case it would be an edit in the backing track somewhere at this point, 125.27. There's a glitch or a dropout in the word keep, which is audible out of phase here. In phase, it's covered up because your attention is being drawn away by a very intense piece of electric guitar strumming on the right hand side. Again, it's one of those tiny little details that ABBA were constantly doing, and it makes it so that you can listen to a mix even 30 years later and still hear extra bits. Now here at 2:23 is probably the most obvious edit of the whole song. It's during the word name, and it's very obvious out of phase. It sounds like the aim bit of name has been tacked on to the end of the n. Now, in phase, what you hear on the left-hand side is a very abrupt, pingy guitar, and you also hear that the drum beat at this point sort of very nearly skips a beat. It's not quite there. It's a little bit sort of jumpy at that point. Right, here the EQ brightens up out of phase. In phase, it sounds like there's a little bit of tape wear. Not an anomaly here, but the girls' harmonies are rather lovely here at this point. There's an extra layer going on right up in the top, in their top ranges, and it's absolutely beautiful. It carries on for a bit here as well into the final chorus. Start. Right, two edits out of phase that are quite prominent. The first one is an edit to the ah-ha-ha bit, which you can only hear out of phase. The second one is audible in phase and out of phase. It's a very heavy tom hit that really makes you jump in at the out of phase listening. In phase, you can hear that on the right-hand channel. Basically just to lengthen the ah-ha-ha refrain so that it carries on long enough for a good fade out. Okay, and those are all the anomalies for Angeleyes. Happy listening.